Hey BookTube, it's Samantha, and I know I have been gone for way too long, but I did warn you it was going to be a busy time for me. I went to Indiana to visit my in-laws in Indiana, and then as soon as we got back from that trip, we had my parents coming to visit in South Carolina for a whole week. They left on Friday morning. I went to work all day, and then we actually are going to be losing all of our rental furniture. So like this thing that you see here, the couch that I've been sitting in, the end table that you might have seen in the bedroom, like all of that rental furniture is going to be gone on Monday. So my husband and I were on Facebook Marketplace and we picked up some pretty random furniture today. We're gonna be getting a couple more pieces tomorrow, and then we're getting our bed and our reclining chairs out of storage on Monday. The rest of it's gonna stay in there, but those were three things that we just knew we needed to have that were just too expensive to buy just for a year. So that's all happening. It's a lot that's going on, and I just have not had time to record and have the time to edit. So here we go. So I'm just gonna do, like the title says, just a little wrap up. And I do want to record another bullet journal video and kind of get things set up for the new year. And then I also kind of want to do a little wrap up, just like everyone else does at the end of the year / beginning of the year when it comes to books. So very excited about all of that. We'll see how the timing goes on everything, but let's get to the books. The first book that I'm going to talk about is Below by Ryan Lockwood. This is a book that I read for Vlogtober, and I just happened to finish it at the very beginning of November. If you want to see that Vlogtober series, here is the link to at least this video, but I have a whole playlist of 5-minute or less videos about different kinds of horror. Some are intense, some are pretty accessible for everyone. This book is definitely in that accessible to everyone genre. Genre being a loose term. So you can check out that video if you want. Otherwise, this is a book about a guy who does scuba diving. That's kind of his job, and it's been kind of low on the people coming in. And there happens to be something in the ocean that may be causing some havoc and may or may not be killing people who are going missing. I really enjoyed the relationship play between the main character and the marine biologist in this one. I thought it was really interesting, fun. It's not the main story. It does definitely add something to it. I listened to the audiobook on this and really enjoyed that. I'm not normally a person who goes into real life stories. One, because I usually read to escape real life, but also two, I just find it more interesting to kind of come up with things in my own head. I like to create worlds in my head, and it doesn't seem as engaging when I'm not creating that world. But this book did a really good job of getting me immersed in the story, and I was definitely curious about how things were going to turn out as the book went along. So I gave this one 4 stars, really enjoyed listening to it. This is also a book that really doesn't have that many reviews. There's not that many people who have read it. So if this sounds interesting to you at any level, I highly recommend that you check it out and definitely give it a rating and or review on Goodreads so that we can spread that love. This next book, I have been wanting to read it for months, and I needed an audiobook to read, so I picked up Unburied Carol by Josh Malerman. If you don't know, I have a great love of Josh Malerman. He is becoming one of my most favorite horror authors in the genre. He's going up there. I've really enjoyed everything that I've read by him so far, and this is definitely no exception. Again, it's an audiobook that I listened to, and that was a great way to listen to this book. If you don't know what Unbury Carol is about, it is about this woman, obviously named Carol, who has this condition where every once in a while she goes into this spell where it seems like she's dead. She won't have a pulse, she won't really be breathing, her heartbeat is extremely slow. I think somewhere in the book it mentions it's like 1 beat per minute or something. She kind of goes into hibernation, and then after a few days she kind of comes out of it, but a few days is long enough to be buried and pronounced dead. So at the very beginning of the book, only 2 people know about her condition because the third one is dead. He dies right at the beginning of the book, and one person is her husband, and another person has been out of her life for years, no contact over decades, like it was this old fling a long time ago. So the chances of him really knowing what's happening to her are slim to none. So really, she only has her husband. Well, guess what? The husband wants to bury her, wants to get rid of her, X her off. So she goes into one of these spells, and the husband is doing the best he can to try and get her buried. And it is just a really great read. I also enjoyed the little subplot going on in the background where the husband hires this hitman assassin dude to try and kill that second person just to make sure that the husband was the only one who knew about Carol's condition. So that's also a subplot that is heavily focused on, is following the assassin and whatnot. Really enjoyed that. At first, the accent that they give the assassin dude is like an Irish accent, which at first I'm like, that seems really kind of stereotypical, but it's so, like, the more I listen to it, it's so perfect and dead on. Like, I loved listening to this audiobook. It was just the performance. I felt like I was just watching it. It was perfect the way that was done on the audiobook. Absolutely loved it. Now, I won't say that it's gonna be like a bunch of twists and turns and everything. It's not that kind of story. It's definitely an adrenaline rushing kind of thriller story with that horror aspect of being dead and no one knows that you're not actually dead. I gave this one 5 stars because I loved it. Absolutely loved it. If you can get the audiobook, definitely recommend that. I read a Josh Malerman book. Absolutely loved it. And I was like, you know what? Why not read another one? This book I had heard was going to be out of print. They weren't going to sell it anymore, something of that notion. So I grabbed it on Amazon really quick. It's A House at the Bottom of the Lake. It's one of his first writings. It's a very small book. It's about 100 pages long. And I figured I'd give this a go. I've been enjoying Josh Malerman so far. Why not check this out? This book is following 2 17-year-olds who kind of have a little crush fling starting. They decide to go on a first date together, and the boy knows that there is this lake that's kind of out there, really isolated, decides he wants to do something fun and to take the girl out to this lake. And they find this house at the bottom of the lake. And so they go exploring, and the story goes from there. I don't 100% know what was going on, because I would find myself, it's a 100-page book, but I found myself reading maybe 15, 20 pages at a time. It took me forever to finish this book, which really surprised me, because with literally all of Josh Malerman's other books, I've flown through them. I don't have a problem with picking them up at all. But this one, I had a problem with picking it up, even though it was so small. I think part of it was Usually in a story, there's something that kind of hooks you into the story, some sort of pull where it's like, oh, wait, what was that? I want to know more about that. And that moment didn't ever happen. It was just like, it was kind of like the house, like, oh, why is there a house at the bottom of the lake? But then they're just going through the house. And then they're obsessed with the house and just like want to hang out by the house all the time. And it was there for quite a while. And while there does seem to be a couple moments where it's like, oh, that's really interesting, that's different, those moments pulled me in, but then it didn't really go anywhere with it. I don't want to say too much in case you do want to check it out, but it was hard to pick it up. And I didn't feel like I got that thriller ending that I normally do with Josh Malerman. So this is definitely one of his earlier works. I gave it 3 stars because it was an interesting premise. I could see it possibly going somewhere if it was more fleshed out. Like if he took this story and reworked it, I think it could be really good. But as it is, not one of my favorites. So if you remember in one of my TBR of the week videos, I had asked you guys for an audiobook recommendation of something that would be available like ASAP because I was going to be driving to Columbia for my job. And I happened to stumble upon The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. My library had it on audiobook. It was a long audiobook, which is kind of what I needed. I love this book. Love it. I heard Kayla on Books and Lala talk about it, and she said that when I don't know if she physically read it or did an audiobook on it, but she said she had to use like every ounce of brain power to listen to it. So I was a little worried about being distracted on my drive, but then on the other hand, it's an easy drive. You get on one highway and boom, you're there. But I found myself just taking that information and be like, you know what, I'm just gonna enjoy it as it is. And if I don't have everything remembered and all those little details, like I'm not gonna sweat it. I'm just gonna enjoy the story as it's revealed. And boy, that was a great way to approach it because I didn't find myself exhausted listening to it. I just wanted to listen to it continuously. If I could listen to it in my sleep and be aware of the story, I just wanted to be fully surrounded by this book. This book is about following this character who is put in this house and there is a murder that he is trying to solve, the murder of Evelyn Hardcastle. And he jumps into each of these bodies to try and figure out who committed the murder. It's different perspectives and they're all starting at different points. And he also realizes that he's not the only one who's trying to find out who killed Evelyn Hardcastle. So it's like this, there's like a time restriction on when they can find, on like finding out, because you only have so many people to go through, and then you start all over at the beginning and you completely forget everything you learned last time around. You have to start from the beginning. It's just interesting interactions on who are the other people who are trying to get out and what information is being told that's true. Because as you find, some of it is either a complete lie or some of it is not the whole truth. And it is just so good. If you like mysteries, like, this book is amazing. It has a little bit of, I wouldn't say supernatural, but I mean, based off the premise of the story, he's jumping bodies to try and figure out this murder. So knowing that in mind, it's not a realistic setting. It is not a pure mystery, true crime kind of story. It is a little weird. It's okay. It can be a good mystery and be a little weird too. It's okay. I promise. I did not see the end coming. Some people could probably say they did see the end coming. Shush. Some people could probably say they saw the end coming. I did not. I thought it was a really enjoyable listen. I was a little worried about listening to this book because I knew it was different perspectives. And when I started listening to the audiobook, I heard it's only one person who's narrating the whole book. So I was worried about being able to differentiate the different characters, but the narrator does a really good job of distinguishing who is who. I could tell just from the tone, from the words that they're saying. It was just a really good blend of making each character unique in their own way. So it was very easy to pick up, even while I was driving. Excuse you. Are we done? Okay, thank you. So just all those little differences that the narrator put in, all those fine details were really good and really helped me with listening to the audiobook. So I really enjoyed it that way. I would like to try and read this as a hard copy to see if there would be any differences in how I experience the story. It's definitely one I want to reread again. This, if I haven't said it already, this is a 5-star read for me as well. So really enjoyed that. But that also brings me to another book that I should have on this list and don't. Priory of the Orange Tree. I should have finished this book by now. I keep on saying, oh, I'm loving the book, I love the story, I love the characters, and it's true, I do. But I'm still at the halfway mark. I started working and now I have no time to read. So that happened. I actually did try to look and see if this book was on audiobook because I want to finish it, but my library doesn't have it on audiobook. So this legit is my TBR for the rest of the month. I think my Goodreads goal for the year is 60 books and I'm currently at 58. So if I can read this one and one more book, then I am set. So that's my goal. I don't know what that other book's gonna be. I'm not gonna put any expectations on myself. I'm just gonna gravitate to whatever I wanna listen to or read and go from there. So I hope you enjoyed this wrap up. I really had a good time with reading. I have fallen a little bit of a slump because of starting work again, and the holidays obviously, but I'm just really excited to be back on the channel and start getting in this habit of making videos again, and I will see you all next time.